This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any health or lifestyle changes. Welcome to the Happy Healthy Her podcast, your go-to space for real talk, inspiration, and laughter as we navigate life as a woman. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Happy Healthy Her podcast, the space where we empower, engage, educate, and inspire women in midlife and beyond. Hi, I'm Cynthia Penner, a menopause coach and author of the Menopause Map book series, and I guide women through the wonderful, sometimes wild world of menopause. My focus is helping women navigate this season of life with confidence through the knowledge of what the heck is going on in her body and hormones. And of course, I'm joined by my two amazing co-hosts and friends, Tracy and Lorraine.
Hi, I'm Tracy Mail, health empowerment coach, here to help you eat better, move smarter, and reduce your chronic pain and fibromyalgia symptoms using what I consider to be the 4 pillars of health, which is nutrition, movement, mindset, and recovery. Thanks.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Lorraine Keim. I'm your empowerment and mindset wellness coach. I guide women to live authentically through self-discovery and self-healing. Welcome.
Welcome. So today we are so excited about today's conversation because we're talking with Catherine Crestani, a leadership coach, intuitive healer, podcaster, author, and international speaker. Catherine empowers mothers to own their powerful no and reclaim time and energy to build their dreams into a profitable reality. Through a combination of shifting energy and mindset, she helps her clients find the courage to choose themselves again. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, ladies. I'm excited to have a conversation with you.
Nice.
Yeah, so let's start at the beginning, Catherine. Can you share a little about your background and what led you into this powerful work?
I never know where to start. There's so many elements that shape our life, right? So my background is a speech language pathologist. So I built two very successful companies. One I built in a business partnership, which I chose to walk away from and sell my share when I was pregnant because I realized how much of a demand that business was on me, but also how much it wasn't serving me. And my business partner and I say it's my nasty divorce because I had a divorce before, but my personal divorce was a lot smoother than my business partnership divorce.
Oh,
And at the same time, I learned a lot from that, and it was lovely working with someone that was more experienced than me in that field. But at the same time, I knew I had a gift of seeing the gaps in the market to grow a business and build a business, which I was doing in the background on my own. And so I built this beautiful company that ended up being a 6-figure business. And the first business, the partnership was 7-figure. So we knew what we were doing. But at the same time, when I built my company, I built it in such a way that everything came back to me. Everything depended on me. I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to, rely on anybody else. I wouldn't pay for a receptionist. I did it myself. Like all these things, I just kept making my job load more and more. And I was just in chronic stress all the time. I was burnt out. I went to my naturopath every week to take home a bag of supplements because that was what was keeping me alive, essentially. And your body can only go on like that for so long before it starts to implode in itself. But I never felt fulfilled. It was always like, what's next? What's the next goal? What's the next goal? And my husband's like, you're not happy, sell the business. I'm like, but where will we get the income from? And during that time I met I was seeing my naturopath. So funny how you meet people. And I went to book in and I said, oh, I saw that your partner is offering this new kind of service. And he goes, yeah, you should do it. And basically, she became my spiritual mentor because I went, yeah, I'm going to do that. And every 2 weeks, I went back and it was like coming home. And it was really unpacking. I went through a very rapid awakening and really unpacked a lot. Like I started hearing voices. It sounds really weird, but in the non-crazy way, although I guess I am a little bit crazy, but at the same time, um, it was constantly showing me and shining light onto things. And then part of that awakening was I had to let something go, and that was my company. So the universe, what I've learned is if you don't make the move first, the universe will make the move for you. And my coach calls it accidental courage versus intentional courage,
Love
right?
it.
Yep.
Love that.
Yep.
And so my accidental courage was in the space of a week. So by this point, I realized like I need to reclaim my health. I need to, step back from the business and really make some big changes. And so then in the space of a week, I had 3 staff resign. And it's really hard to find allied health, let alone 3 in 1 week. So I had a massive breakdown because it was due. And I was on the ball, like a ball on the floor, just, I can't do this. And then my husband and my son, they were like, you can get up, keep going. My guides were like, get up, keep going. And I was like, this is, okay. I eventually got up and I kept going. And then a month later, another 3 resigned in a week. And I
Oh
still,
man.
I can't make this stuff up. And I still hadn't replace the other ones. And I was angry. I went and yelled. This place I meditate in the bush. Like I went and yelled. I was so angry. I'm like, I'm doing all the work. Why are you doing this to me? How am I meant to be serving? And then a month later, another 3 resigned in a week.
What?
Come on.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
And by this point, I went, you know what? They're not meant to be in my life anymore, and I'm not meant to be running this company anymore. I need to sell it. And that's what I did. So, but then when I sold the company, I was faced with my own worth story because I believed that you had to work hard to earn money. And even though I had been working really hard, this money landed in my lap, which I've subconsciously felt like I didn't deserve. So, yes, we used it to buy some things to improve our house. We paid off a chunk of debt. I did some dental work I really needed done. But at the same time, it all kind of disappeared. And then we were living paycheck to paycheck. And to be living that way, anyone who is living that way, I understand how hard it is. You get a bill and you have a panic attack because you're like, I don't know where I'm going to find this extra money from. But the thing I learned through that is, first of all, how to heal my own worth story. And second of all, I just realized how determined I was to not keep living that. And when you have that mindset and you have that energetic backing behind it and you're ready to step out of those stories, it's really, really powerful. So I got up in the middle of the night to watch this masterclass because I've been doing all the free things, like people offer free discovery calls. So I was doing them all. I'm like, I want to work with somebody, but I don't know how yet. I just know I want to do it. So I got up in the middle of the night because it was 11 p.m. Australian time. And I watched this masterclass for this person I really resonated with. And at the same time, we got to the end of it, and he's like, I'm launching a brand new program. It's a soft launch, and this is the price in Malaysian ringgit. And I was like, what's that in Australian? And I did the conversion, and it was what was left in our savings account. And it was for
Oh,
3 months of coaching. And I was like, I can't say no to this. So I quickly invested. And then I was like, oh my gosh. And then I went, oh, what is my husband going to say? I just put the last of our savings. Anyway, so then I went to bed. It was like 1 a.m. And my husband's like, oh, how did your class go? I was like, it was so good. I did this and did this. And I said, and then he had this offer, and this is how much it was. But I didn't say that I signed up. So I just left it there. And he goes, I hope you signed up. And I thought, oh, thank you.
aw.
And then I was like, I didn't want to tell you because I thought you were going to be really angry. And so
Mm.
but as soon as I did that and invested in myself, then, all these things started to happen, and I do the work. And this is the thing, I want from my clients because I don't work with everybody, and I'm assuming your ladies are the same. You want people that are actually going to do the work rather than showing up. And I lead by example. I do the work, and by the end of 3 months, I suddenly, this coaching business that I couldn't get up and off the ground, all of a sudden I had 10 new clients. One signed up
Oh
for
my God.
like a year package. I had money coming in from unexpected places. I had, all this abundance suddenly in my life. But that wasn't the end of the story. So I was still working my 9 to 5, 3 days a week because that was part of the deal when I sold the company. I would stay on as a speech language pathologist. And the plan was I was going to leave. And we realized that where we were living, well, where we are living, we're still here at the moment, wasn't serving us. And we needed to sell our house because we couldn't keep sustaining on the income. And my husband's like, you don't want to work this anymore. You've been telling me for 5, 6 years that this job's killing your soul. And I'm like, it is. I said, as much as I love working with children, because I was a pediatric speech and, working with the parents, it's not what I'm meant to be doing. And this is the thing. You can be good at a job, but it doesn't mean it's your passion and what's fueling you. So, so then I handed in my resignation at the start of March because we put a house on the market, and I knew in my heart it'd be quick, but I conditioned the universe and I said, when the house sells, I will quit my job. Instead of in my heart, I knew I had to put the end of April. So then what started happen was I started to go numb. So I lost feeling in my left pinky. It started to spread to the point I couldn't feel half my face. And I would go to this beautiful range of practitioners that I knew and I trusted, and it would go for a few days and it wouldn't come back. And then this beautiful couple I met on my podcast, I was like, I'm like, I need to have a session with you. And I did. And they said, look, until you address the underlying cause causing your numbness, it will go away for a few days, but it will come back. And if you don't stop, you're going to head up with an autoimmune because your body is fried, And I was like, and then at the end of April, when I was meant to put the date in for quitting, I was meditating with my coach, and he's like, what's your heart telling you to do? And this non-negotiable one word came up, and it was quit. Quit. It was my last warning.
Oh my
And
God.
so I did. I quit. And
Wow.
my
Good for
husband,
you.
my husband blew up. He had no, he's like, where are we going to get the money for the house? And I was like, I have to quit. I said, you don't understand. I said, I'm waking up every day in fear. I have numbness. I cannot keep living this way. And so I did. I quit. And it was the most liberating feeling. And I left on really good terms. But the week I put in my date to finish, all these opportunities just started coming in, like invitations to be on speaker summits, like different podcasts, like money started coming from weird places. And weirdly, at the start, for a certain point, we had more money in our savings account than we did when I was working. It was so bizarre, so this is, when you truly listen to what's going on inside you and actually pay attention to it and listen to it, because if you don't, I know if I was still working, I wouldn't be working because I'd be so paralyzed that, I wouldn't be able to work anymore. And the first day I got to be, because my focus now is being a mum, but the first day I got to be a stay-at-home mum, every single symptom disappeared. There was no more numbness.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 So that's my story.
Your story is
Wow.
amazing.
Wow.
Just before we hit record, because I was leading this podcast, Trace and Lorraine are like, okay, what are we going to be discussing? And we were discussing that, like, the road to burnout is a lot shorter than the road to recovery. And if you're not listening to the cues and you're not saying your no's and you're not, and as women, you're right, like you're working, you're a mom, and when your gut, your intuition, your very soul is saying, you need to do this, but then fear takes over, the longer you wait, the longer your recovery. And so, and you're right, once you put that out there and say, no more fear, and that's it, that's all, then you're right. Like the energy and the universe, if you want to call that, it comes in and it rewards you because it was telling you, it was telling you. Catherine, I love your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh, that's
That's
you.
awesome.
fantastic. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My
You
my next puzzle is selling the house, but that's the next puzzle that we're
Yeah.
working on.
It's sold. You already put it
Yeah.
out there.
It's
Yep.
It's
sold.
done.
Yeah.
It's
It's
sold. Yeah.
sold. Yep.
It-
There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
You answered my question that I had, so I have nothing, no questions, but I absolutely love the courage and the fact that you did that. Just, it's inspirational, man. I just love that.
You know, the
Yeah.
biggest thing I've learned with fear, like you were touching on, Cynthia, is, when we're heading towards something that excites us, there's always that fear component as well,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
it's learning to discern between what is fear, like, as in, I'm genuinely gonna, not be okay, like that gut instinct of don't walk down that dark alley in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
versus the fear of just it's the unknown. Because if we start listening to our head just wants to keep us safe, it wants to keep us comfortable. Whereas when we listen to our heart, it's like, no, this is the way to go. And
Yeah.
and you can feel it. And I've learned when the fear comes up, I kind of run towards it. It's like, okay, well, it's here. It
Yeah.
probably means that I'm on the right track. Like, let's keep running and let's see what
Yeah.
happens. And, I recently ran a retreat, and that was a growing experience in itself,
Mm.
because I would have never thought I would run a retreat, but intuitively, I just had this kind of push from the universe saying, you need to run this. And it was a soul aligned business retreat, teaching women how to reclaim themselves and own their nose and their values. And the amount of growth I went through, like, I was contacting businesses and didn't even care. Like, hey, do you mind supporting me and sponsoring me, or, whatever. And I'd never asked for anything from them except for putting up like an advertisement or sharing a post on social media. And I got these boxes of amazing products to share with
Oh,
people on the
wow.
retreat. And I'm like, thank you. I didn't ask for that, but thank you. This is
Mhm.
amazing. Thank you. And it was just all this growth. And the biggest thing from that was too, like, I healed my relationship with my dad so significantly, because he's an accountant. So he's very much like, we were having dinner and he goes, oh, you're going to make money off this retreat. And I went, well, probably not at this point. It's probably a no. So his accountant brain reacted and his protective dad brain. And he was like, ah, and he went off and then he stormed off. And it was amazing because this is when you've done the healing work, right? And when you're very in tune. And it was almost like these bubbles of emotions came up. So first it was shame. And I felt it like a bubble. It just came up and popped. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it was embarrassment and the same thing. And then it was just sadness. It was sadness that he couldn't let me fail, because we are so afraid of failing and we've been
Mm.
conditioned to be afraid of that, where we need to learn to fail forward. Failure is where you get the biggest growth and evolution
Yes.
on a soul level and as a human being, and so when you really trust into that and honor that, and this is why I was just like, why can't you just let me fail? And so then he came back to the table, and then my husband was like, did you just feel like a 12-year-old being shamed? And then
Yeah.
I was like, a little bit. I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie. That was
Yeah.
there. And then he stormed off because my husband was more angry than I was. And my son and I were just like, oh, stuff this. We're at a nice restaurant. I just want to enjoy the food. And we let it go. And then when I got home, my dad rang me and he's like, I want to apologize. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I truly want to apologize for how I reacted. He goes, I understand you're trying new things in your life and you want to succeed. And I just truly worry about you. And I don't know why, but I'm really triggered by this sort of things. I think I'm still mourning the loss of your grandfather. So then we ended up having this really powerful coaching session. But then at the end of the call, he said, I love you. And my dad never says that. Like, ever. And I was like, tears. I was like, oh my God, I love you too, Dad. Like,
Oh,
so like that was the biggest lesson, and then sometimes, we forget that all this effort we put into things, it feels wasted. But
Mm.
in the end, it's not. It's about, the effort will get put somewhere else. So maybe my part of running that retreat was healing that aspect with my dad, so and also learning that whatever, just who cares, just try and put it all out there and see what happens. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I
Oh
think
my
when you're
goodness.
stepping into your true self, like what you said, like your job was killing you, right? You were stressed and you weren't, but even though that was your career, stepping into what truly lights you up, like if we could all see the colors, like that tree behind you in that picture, when you step into your true self, all the things coming out of you, it's beautiful and it's healing the relationships and it's filling your bank account and it's lighting you on fire. And even if you don't make money from the retreat, it was healing your soul and it was healing these women that you were doing the retreat for. And maybe one day they will be a paying customer, but in the meantime, you're moving forward and all those tentacles of beautiful light are still going into the world. And you're
Nice.
literally being the person that you were supposed to be on the other side of fear. Like it's, yeah, beautiful.
100%.
So cool. So cool.
That is
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, oddly
exactly.
enough, I had a question about fear. So
Oh, oh no.
this goes right into what was happening. So I guess what I would have to say, I mean, we also have to remember that not every time that we step into our light and we go that, will we get such immediate, benefit and everything. So I want to speak to the other half of people who quit and they boldly go out, but things don't happen right away. So what would you say to them when they have that fear come back or the waves of fear? It's a really powerful block to quit at some point when they're not having that, oh wow, money just dropped in my lap after doing the right thing. There needs to be another layer of courage within yourself, of this power to stay true to yourself and to get resilience and to really power through those blocks. What do you suggest?
Yeah, Lorraine, that's a really good point. And it's funny because I work with a lot of mums and I say to them, like, if you're going to quit your job and have no other income and you're on survival mode, that is not the best path for you because sometimes when we're in that survival state, we can't thrive. And especially if you've got to feed your kids. So it might be, okay, well, can you step back a little bit and put boundaries in? So I've had other clients where I'm like, why are you doing these extra hours you're not even being paid for? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I said, and what are you getting back? Oh, nothing. All right, well, say no to that and say, these are the hours I'm available and step back from that. I have another client, and so she's just got a part-time job just so that she has constant money coming in. And I never will ask a client to put themselves in that position where they're not ready. I was fortunate enough that my dad said to me, because he knew we were selling the house, because I said I'm quitting my job. He goes, okay, well, if you need help, call me. So I know that's my super backup plan, but at the same time, I don't want to use it if I don't have to. And my husband could go back to work. But if you're a single mum, and you got to hustle, like that can be a genuine fear. So I would say not to just throw it all into the wind, but have some sort of structure with that too. It's like, okay, here is my goal, this is where I want to get, what are some other ways I can create income coming in, so then when I do quit, it's not all just from me trying to get clients, because when you're in that desperate state and you're not connecting with people, you're going to attract the wrong clients. You're not going to attract clients at all. And that's what I was at when I was living paycheck to paycheck. And, I was wanting this business to thrive and to suddenly explode. And it was like, oh my goodness, like, why aren't I getting clients? Like, we need the money, da, da, da. And that energy, that is when you're going to push it all away.
Yep.
So,
Fear and lack and yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do just need to quit because you're so disrespected and you can feel like I did. I just felt like I couldn't stay there. And it was nothing against my boss. I had a beautiful boss. He was so easygoing. He let me wear no shoes at work because I hate shoes, all those sorts of things.
Nice.
But at the same time, when I said to him, when we had this meeting about me quitting, he said, is it because of me? And it was his own worth story, right? And I was like, no, it's not to do with you. I would happily work for you, but I go, it's just this job. And he goes, I understand. That's what he just said. I understand. He goes, I get how hard it is. He goes, like, I fully respect your decision. So, this is where even when you leave a job, you don't want to burn the bridges either, because you never know what will happen there. And that's any position or anything. Like, I always try and leave on good terms. Sometimes you can't, like with my ex-business partner, I just had to set that on fire and just leave, and that's fine, but at the same time, when you yeah, and it's about having the right support. That's the other part of that too, Lorraine, right? Like you need support, whether it's you put yourself in a group, a community that can support you, whether you put yourself, and sometimes your family and your friends aren't the support that you need because they just sit there and they will tell you what they think you want to hear. They don't actually support you in a way that helps you grow and expand and challenge you. And they sometimes can keep you in that victim mindset too, because often that keeps us in the fear as well. So, so anyone listening, I'm not saying go quit your job tomorrow, but maybe put a plan in place if that's where you really want to go, and maybe give yourself a timeline, because sometimes when we have a plan, then and we focus on that and focus on that only, everything will start to pull in that, because where your energy goes, that's where energy flow. Where you focus, that's where your energy goes. So, just to focus on that one thing, right? I'm going to quit my job in 3 months. I've got 3 months to get this business set up, start making clients, bring those clients in, or invest some of my money that I have in savings into a place that will grow and turn into more income coming in whilst I'm having that. And I'm not a wealth coach, but that is what I've learned to do from the second time around after I lost all the money from where we lost all the money, pushed all the money away
Yep,
from selling
yep,
my
yep.
business. That was the first thing we did. Like when we had money start to come in, we're like, okay, what can we invest in? And it can be anything. Like for us, it was gold and silver, which turned out to be a very good investment. But it might be whatever you choose to. And now we're at this point where my husband's working and we needed to pull that money from the investment. I'm still not in that stress response going, oh my gosh, I need more clients and that sort of thing, because I know we've set up parameters to help us keep moving forward. That's a very long answer to your question.
No, I love
That's
that
a
you
good
said
one.
that, because that is so important, that you not be in that fear cycle, and getting a part-time job or having a backup plan or having a strategy or doing your slow savings and investing and things like that can relieve that pressure of needing that money, so your creativity can flow better,
100%.
so your ideas, so your energy is up, so that you can have that, go get them attitude and really be able to blossom and concentrate on your job, what aligns you, what makes you happy, and at the same time still be able to pay your bills some way. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, and I think too, there's like such an important element there too, Lorraine, where so often when we are in that vulnerable state, you'll be very prone to being sucked into people's circles. And this is something like in the coaching world that irks me, which is like, oh, we can build your wealth like to 6 figures in like 1 month. But then you actually look into them as a person and they don't even do that, so and the other part is like, people saying they're a life coach and they're 20, but they've gone through no life experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It irks me. And
Exactly.
this is where you need to really learn who's authentic and who's not authentic and who lives their story. And I still remember I was on this call. I don't know, for some reason I filled out this Instagram ad. I don't know why. And they're like, oh, they're asking me about my coaching business. And they were looking for people to work with or something. And they go, oh, what qualifies you as a coach? I said, does life and God count? And they didn't know what to say. And I said, you know what? You're probably not my people. And I was like, you don't understand, because they just wanted the qualifications. And we all have this beautiful story that makes us who we are. And, if you can step away from needing the letters or anything after you, and I'm not saying that that's not a bad thing. If you're genuinely curious and like, so for example, when I started working with people, I kept intuitively getting these herbs names. And I'm like, catnip? Why is this person being recommended catnip? And my client was like, isn't that for cats? I was like, let's look this up together. And it turned out catnip is really good for anxiety. Who knew? So,
No
which is
way.
what the client had. So then I was like, you know what? I really need to go learn about herbs, because like there's so many contraindications and I want to know more. So then I enrolled myself in a herbalism course. So, this is this is the difference between I'm just going to do it to have the letters so then people will pay me more versus I'm going to do it out of genuinely curiosity so I can expand who I am and allow that creativity to flow more because I'm investing myself to expand my knowledge set.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect.
Absolutely.
I
Love
I
that.
love that you help women listen to their intuition instead of just the world's expectations. So that leads us perfectly into why your approach works so well. So for someone who's curious about this or maybe even skeptical, what makes your approach different and why does it really work?
Well, this is the thing. So I lead people back to themselves, but I do it through intuitive healing. And what that means is I actually just create a space that will work for you, whatever way you need to. So my sessions will never look the same. They're catered specifically for you. And what I teach people, and because my job is to empower you to a point that hopefully you don't need me anymore, but you actually want to come to me for whatever reason, you know. But at the same time, it's about learning that and actually deconditioning that we've been so taught in this society to think with our head, but we actually need to think with our heart. And there's more and more research coming out about this, which is so beautiful, especially from the Heart Math Institute, which when they did this research about decision making receptors, so the little parts in your brain that decide to make a decision, they measured it, they actually found them in your heart and your gut as well. And your heart has way more, like way more than your head. And your gut is closely followed by your heart. So we should be making decisions with our heart, checking in with our gut, and then going to our head, not going to our head first. So when I'm working with mothers, especially, it's about, okay, well, what does your heart desire and what is your vision? Because if you can tap into your vision and see where you want to go, not what anyone else tells you, because that's just noise, but where you truly want to go, then it helps you align with your values for you as a person and then your yes and your no, and actually learning to say no to things like we touched upon at the start, especially with your as a mum. It's so powerful when you a decision means to cut. So when you make a decision, you actually get back more time because all of a sudden you're not dispersing your energy and doing all these things you don't want to be doing. You get back more energy because you're not in the maybe and stuck in the or the I'm saying yes to go to this party, but I really want to say no and I'm going to sit there for 3 hours and count down every minute, right?
Yeah.
But then you can also be more present because you haven't got all these things going on in your head, and especially as a mum, our kids often just want our presence. They just want to be connected with and be with us, and I know I'm guilty of thinking about the next thing to do. And then my son's like, Mom, and I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm back. I'm back. Um, but one of the biggest things I teach my clients is starting to tune into their intuition using muscle testing. So through kinesiology, our body actually holds information, and you can actually do testing on yourself, which is really, really cool. So there's no scientific evidence to prove this because how do you put a placebo and things in place for that, right? But the simplest, I do like a click, but you can just make a circle with your finger and hook your other finger through, and you're like, hey, body, show me yes, show me no. Like, and then you can play with it. And you're like, hey, is my name Catherine? Is my name Cynthia? Nope. Is my name Tracy? Nope. Is my name Catherine? Yeah. And you do it for non-emotional things. I want to emphasize non-emotional things to start because if you have an emotion around it, it's charged. It doesn't matter. But you could do it to choose what you want to wear, what jewelry you want to put on, what you want to eat. This is so powerful if you're that person that goes to a cafe and cannot make a decision. And it takes you 20 minutes to order off the menu. So I will use this and I will sit there and go, no, 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 no. Yeah, that's what I want. And then I'll look at it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that does sound good. I don't even read it.
Oh,
Just kind of skim through. So, but then one day what happens, and this is how I started to tune into my intuition. And then one day you don't even have to do the testing. You just hear the answer or you feel the answer or you sense the answer. And then you step into this like, oh, that's my intuition. And you start to recognize that voice that comes from your heart instead of all the voices in your head. Now, if you're really tired, please do not make decisions from the voices in your head say when you're tired, because that is when all your doors will open and your gremlins will come out. And, you know,
Oh
um,
boy.
and that's okay. But the more you get to know yourself, and this is part of what I do with people, humans as well, and souls, the more you get to know yourself, the more you'll recognize those triggers when they come up. So when the voices do come out, you're like, okay, I'm tired. Thank you. Or thank you for saying that. So, for example, we have like a soda machine thing, you know, where you put the carbon in the water.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
And my husband has this habit of barely filling it back up. And I just see the bottle and I put the water in and I just go do it because that's me. Like, you know, such a
Mhm.
time-saving hack as a mum, don't leave things in the sink, just put them in the dishwasher. Weirdly, it saves you so much time. But anyway, so this is my mentality, right? And then when I'm cranky or if I'm really tired, my brain will go, oh my gosh, he does nothing around the house.
Yeah.
I have to
oh
do
my
this all the time. Rah, 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 rah. Whereas I'm like, that's
I'm
not
tired a
true.
lot.
Exactly. And you're like, but at the same time, you know it's not true. It's just not their forte kind of thing. So when you become really aware of that's what happens, you don't give it as much stock. And that's where you can really tune more into you as well. And also know, okay, maybe I need to go to bed. You know, so and maybe I need to say something positive in this and, you know, and not react and not have that big blow up, because when we're in reaction, we're not in our true selves. It's our ego. But when we can pause and actually take a moment, breathe, whatever it might be, then we can come from a better place. Same with our children. Our children like to push our buttons no end, right? But
yep,
then when we can pause and go, all right, nope, I'm not going to react to this. Thank you, and walk away. Sometimes they're just left there going, what just happened? You know,
yep,
and from nearly 2 decades working with children, I can tell you like my patience for other people's children is way more than my own. But that's, I think part of being a
Ah,
parent. But at the same time, it was amazing how many times parents would be like, they just listen to you. And I'm like, you just hold presence. You know, you don't, it's almost like this is what you have to do, and there's no way around it. You can throw your tantrum, you can throw everything in the room. I don't care. You actually just need to do this first. And this is where learning to hold your no and your boundaries is comes to become a big thing as well. Because when you start to say no, you will get pushback because it's like, are you sure you want to say no to this? Yes. It's like, think of a child. When you say no to them, they'll go ask dad or they'll go ask somebody else. And it's like, and then, you know, it's funny because we just had Father's Day here. And the card my son got, my husband, was thank you for saying yes when mum says no.
oh,
So but this is where it's really
hilarious.
good to make sure you have these powerful conversations with people in your life too, so that you can get that win-win-win. Because the ego is the one that just wants to win and the other person loses. But if you're in a relationship, whether it's with your family, your friends, with your clients, you want to all get a win in that situation so that you can all grow together.
Nice.
I like the way you
Absolutely.
said the doors open and the gremlin comes out.
Yeah.
Like that is such a great analogy. And I also like the way you said thank you. Like when your intuition spoke and you listened, you said you
Yeah.
kept saying that. You ended it with thank you. You're thanking your intuition, like giving it a voice and saying thank you. Like I really like the way you said that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's giving gratitude to yourself in that moment
Yeah.
too, right? Where you can say thank you for that. And one of the most beautiful phrases I learned was thank you for the good I cannot see, you know,
Yeah.
because so often we have like chaos happen. You know, I had a few, I think at the start of the year, I was trying to leave to go for work and my key wouldn't come out the front door and my car keys are attached to my house key. So I couldn't go anywhere. And I was like, what is this? And nothing I did could get the key out of the door. So I just stood there. Thank you for the good I cannot see. And then I tried the key again and it came out. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, great. And we don't know. Like, we are so loved and protected. And it could have been that 5 minute delay was I missed a car accident, or
Exactly.
I didn't get hit, the car didn't get hit, or something like that. So,
Yeah.
giving gratitude for that, even if you're stuck in traffic because there's been an accident, I'm like, I'm grateful I'm not in that accident. Thank you.
Yes.
And it changes your perspective, and it changes the energy that you pull into your life. And it's funny because my husband's like, are you talking to yourself again? I'm like, yep. Because he'll hear me just saying, thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And
Yeah.
I do. I have this conversation with my intuition, like, oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. And it sounds really weird, but the more you honor that and the more you give it space to grow, the more it can come into your life. And then you can be more courageous. You can make more of those decisions, and you can step into what you're meant to be doing.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've noticed that. My husband and I talk about that all the time. It's like all the different things in life that happen. You have to move, or you're like, no, and you can't find a place. And you start stressing out, and you just let go. And you know what? Everything works out. It all happens for a reason. And every time one door closes, another one opens that you might not even know is going to open, right? And
100%.
everything always works out. It's just, I'm 55 and everything just works out. It's the craziest thing to me. It's cool. The one question I do have when you're doing this, you
Yeah.
see, my husband and he would talks about that stuff all the time, and we've had a big thing with that. What hey, I don't know. Am I letting go because I want to let go? Like, how do you know that you're not just or like, what if it doesn't open at all? It's just your mind closing it. How do you get from your head getting in the way and trusting that?
Yeah, so I would say just drop into your heart first. So you can do like breathing to come into presence, or another way you can
Okay.
do it is you can actually stand up and close your eyes and put your hands across like this. And it's like, show me yes, show me no,
And you
because
go
you
front and
can't
back, right?
control that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can't
Yeah.
control that. I've had a
Hmm.
lot of clients who say ask the exact same thing as you, Tracy, but this is
Okay.
your head getting in the way, right?
Right.
Because it's
Yeah.
it's not trusting what's coming through. I would also say make sure you've had enough water before you do it as well, because if you're
Ah.
not hydrated, it
Mhm.
won't work as well. It's the same with any kind of body thing, like it won't
Yeah.
integrate as much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just start with questions that you don't care about the answer to, because then your not head's not going to get in the way, right? And it's
That's a good
like,
point. Okay.
yeah, so this is why clothing can be really good. It's like, hey, should I wear the white top or the green top? Should I wear the white top? No, should I wear the green top? Yes. Okay, great. I'll wear the green top today. So this is why those sort of practices are really good. Like even
Okay.
breakfast, right? It's like, oh, do I
Mm.
want oats today or do I want toast? And you don't care either way, because you clearly don't feel like one of the things. So then your head's not going to get in the way because it's not caring about that sort of thing. Or
Okay.
even, there might be I was, I did this a really fun way. So I went for a bushwalk, or a forest walk, if you will. We call it
Mhm.
the bush, but I went for a
Yeah, we do.
bushwalk, and I was like, okay, which way should I go? So I actually used the muscle testing to go left, right, or whatever. And I got
Oh,
taken to this beautiful overhang of a rock, and all these amazing places just doing that intuitively. And that's a really nice way to trust your intuition, as long as you can't get lost in that space,
Yeah.
like you know your
yeah.
general direction, right? But
Yeah.
you can just go in and you know that this is where the path is, but I'm going to go off the path and see where I go. But I did that one day, and I got taken through, like, it was crazy. Like, I just was following this intuition, and I got taken through this forest where there was like trees falling down. I had like pine needles in my hair. And anyway, and I come out the other side, and there's this beautiful clearing, and it ended up being like my main meditation spot. But there was this
Oh,
beautiful
wow.
clearing. There was this tree. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so special. And it ended up being even more special than I realized. But I was like, wow, thank you so much, for showing me this. Thank you,
Hmm.
intuition, for leading me here. And then I was like, how do I get back down? And then there was this path that was cleared, and I just could have walked it. It took
Oh.
me like a minute to get back to where I started. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
But this is what happens, because when you're learning to trust, you do have to go through the hard stuff. You do have to get through the difficult paths, whether it's climbing trees or whatever it might be. But in the end, you'll see that there is a clearer path to help get you there. And this is the part of learning to trust that intuition and trust that feedback and that muscle testing. It's like, okay, I'm going to start with the simple stuff that I really don't have any emotional attachment to, so that I can build up my trust in myself and my inner voice, and then keep going from there. So
Yeah.
I would say, Tracy, for you,
Yeah.
start with clothes or start with something that you have no emotional attachment to. If you're
Right.
really attached, I had another client and she's like, but what if I really want the chocolate? And so I said, well, ask different questions. Can I have the chocolate? Should I have the chocolate? Oh, okay. Different question, right?
Right. Right.
So, I've got, because I have some clients with food sensitivities too. And I said,
Mhm.
well, let's start listening to your body's intuition on what you should eat, because our body can change day to day as well, right? So,
Yeah.
she's like, oh my goodness. She goes, I started doing this and all of a sudden I feel 100% better. I said, amazing.
Nice.
Even she's like, I was just eating out of default and my body actually didn't want food. So she ended up doing intermittent fasting, which her body needed to help clear
Yeah.
things as well. But she did that because she was trusting and learning to trust her intuition and using this. And most people, when I
Okay.
teach them, they're like, oh my God, what? I don't believe this. And I was like, I know. And even you can do it to strengthen it with things that you know are true, like your name, your dog's name, your children's name, whatever, and you can play with it that way and you can strengthen it that way too, because you can't change that. You know the answer. So then your body's getting more in tune to knowing that's my yes and that's my no.
Ah, cool. All right. No,
Real
thank
quick,
you. That helps. Yeah. That's good.
for those who are just listening and not watching,
Oh, yes.
you're touching your fingers, and I guess you're locking
Yes.
them. So
Yes.
is it if it doesn't come out, it means something, and if it does loose, it means something. Is that the
It depends for you. So you have to tune your body in. So you go, hey body, show me yes. Hey body, show me no. Because sometimes it can change too. Because some days your body likes to be different, right? So it's like you almost put a check-in before you start. It's like you're tuning in before you
right?
start asking the questions and calibrating it. So it's very similar if people use a pendulum, right? So people use a pendulum and they'll hold it. And then the problem with the pendulum is that you have to take it with you, whereas at least your body's
Mhm.
always with you, right? So it's not like, oh no, I forgot my pendulum. I don't know what to order from the cafe today. It's like, no, I can use my body. So, anyone listening to, I have this for free on my website. It's called Muscle Testing 101, and you can go have a look. I think it's called Muscle Testing. Oh, anyway, it's for free, and you can watch it and the video, because it's such a powerful intuition hack.
Right.
And it's such a nice way to start listening to yourself as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
And that hack, you're saying it works for non-emotional testing, right? And so the purpose of the muscle testing with non-emotional things is you're trying to train the women to listen to their intuition on the non-emotional, so that when you're listening, eventually you start listening to the emotional ones. Is that correct? Because
A
you said that
hundred
doesn't
percent.
work with the emotional things, right?
100%.
Okay.
Because the more you build that trust in your intuition and you know what that voice sounds like, it makes it easier to discern when you do have an emotional decision. But
Mm.
even like emotions aren't good or bad, it's just coming back to that feeling and acknowledging it. And
Yeah.
often I will tell my clients when they're really stuck on a decision, just to go out in nature and hug a tree. I know it sounds so ridiculous, but
No.
it will
No,
bring you,
grounding.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ground you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so
Yeah.
much evidence showing how it's actually really impactful now too, which is why I love living in this time, because I'm like, woohoo, we're
Yes.
not as woo anymore. Um,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
won't be.
Look weird hugging a tree.
Yeah, we're not going to
exactly.
be said we're witches or something weird, but
Yeah. Yeah.
grounding is a thing now. Energy is a thing now. And getting back to
Mm.
nature, it's, like we
So
were at the
important.
beginning, like normally I live in Mexico and the same thing. I don't go hug a tree, but I will go barefoot on the beach and just put my feet straight into the sand and stand there for a moment. grounding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's when you can be fully present in that moment, and then, that's the point of grounding. It allows you to be present in your body. And whether it's nature for you, I have clients that do gardening, some will go for a walk, some will go swimming, whatever it is where you can get to that state of peace, then you can make those emotional decisions because there's no charge around them anymore and you can think and let it go more clearly. It's when we perseverate on it, because when we get stuck in the past, then we live on regrets and we let those past define our future, right? Because it's like, but last time we did that, da, da, da. It's like, well, no, it's
Mm.
different. It's different now, and then if we get stuck looking in the future, then all the worries, the overwhelm, the anxiety
Oh,
comes because we don't understand that gap. But when we can come into the presence, you know, my coach taught us that if we have 60% of the information and it feels great, say yes, and then the rest will come because you're not meant to know the plan. You're not meant to know
No,
everything. You're just meant to know where you're heading.
Well, that reminds
absolutely.
me of we're talking a lot about the mind versus the heart, not versus, but and the gut. So we have kind of that triad,
Mm,
and I did hear about the brain cells in the heart and the gut. I didn't know there were so many, but yes. But what's important about the three of them is that we're really talking about balance here.
correct.
You may start with the heart, but that doesn't mean that the heart overrules the head or the gut overrules this or anything. You're really talking about how they work in sync. And each of us has to find our own cycle that we use because we're all different, we're all unique. And so I love thinking about the fact that we're not just saying go with your feelings, and
Yeah.
forget what you're thinking or go with your gut. And even if it makes you feel uncomfortable or whatever it is, we really are talking about getting aligned with who we are and using all of the forces that we have to
100%.
propel us in the direction and have that intuition really start to have us learn who we are and how we do things and have this beautiful balance.
100%, Lorraine. And I think you touched on something really important too, is that we all have our own truth, right? Like, and the more you align with your truth and discern what aligns for you and what doesn't, anyone listening to this, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. That's the whole point. This is where you go, okay, I agree with that. I don't agree with that. I agree with that. I don't agree with that. I can't tell you what you're going to take on and what you're going to leave. Hopefully, all of it you want to take on. But at the same time, I don't know that. And you have to really learn to honor your truth. And this is where it's so important to check in with what works for you, like you said, in that balance, because we are so influenced by everything outside us that it can get so noisy that we forget to hear that inner voice. And that is really the trust, like learning to trust your intuition and come back to that. Because when you can learn to tune out that noise, that is where your power comes in. And that is where you really step into your own alignment because it's like, well, society's telling me to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm saying stuff that because I don't like that. I'm going to go, do this. And, when you're building a business, when you're building a lifestyle, make it reflect what aligns for you. If your version of success is, I want to see 5 clients a week and I need this much money and that leaves me more than comfortable, then that is what your business should look like. If you want to multi-scale because you want to do X, Y, and Z and create global impact, great, do that too. But it comes back to what aligns for you and your truth. And, if you're happy living in a shack on the beach because that's where you're most at peace, then by all means live on a shack on the beach. But if you want to live in a multi-story house because you want to see that, make sure it's for the right intentions, but come back and go, okay, is this truly what I want?
Exactly.
so for someone brand new, maybe listening in the middle of her busy day right now, or middle of the morning for you in Australia there, Catherine, what's a simple starting point to begin reconnecting with herself and her intuition?
I would say creating a daily practice where it's just you. Even if it's 5 minutes where you meditate, it's not even meditation. It's just something you can do to honor you, whether it's making a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and drinking it hot, or getting up before your kids so you can have that quiet time or however that looks. If you can create a daily ritual where you just sit with you for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it might be, and start the day that way and ask yourself, how do I want to show up today? That is more powerful than anything you can do because you're choosing yourself first. And it's not being selfish, it's being self-full. Because when we're full and our cup is overflowing, then we can serve those around us as well. But when we're constantly on the back end and not making that time and space for ourselves at the start of the day, it's when you're just everything's gonna turn upside down. Because if you've had that moment for yourself, I know especially as a mum, if you've had that 5 minutes or 10 minutes for yourself where you just get that silence and that quiet
Yeah.
moment, and I can tap into me and I just give gratitude usually as well, like thank you for whatever. If you don't know what to be grateful for, just say thank you for that I'm breathing, thank you for the air, whatever, but it will help change your energy and perception as you go in the day. And I know what it's like not to have that time because your child wakes up early or whatever. So if you want to contrast it, just think about the days where you don't get that quiet time versus you do. But definitely a daily ritual to honor yourself. Even if you're listening now and you have 5 minutes, just go sit with your cup of tea and just, be thankful for where you are or thankful for your journey and your story, no matter where it is. And it will help shift your energy for the rest of the day.
I like that you said, and drink it hot. I
Hmm.
cannot tell you, like that gives you that time. I cannot tell you how many,
Yeah.
and I drink coffee in the morning. It's research that I've done. So my 3 to 4 cups is my sweet spot. I can't even tell you how many cups end up cold. Like it is insane how I can't even finish 1 cup of coffee hot because something is pulling me that I'm allowing to pull me. I can't. That just was a light bulb. Like, and drink it hot. Like you
Mhm.
just gave her a time frame. Pour the cup of tea, pour the cup of coffee, and you sit in yourself until it's done and it's hot still. And it's hot still.
Yeah. And if you're like me and you like can't drink it super hot, just add a bit of cold water, especially to your tea. And so you can drink it while it's still warm, because
Yep.
otherwise I'm guilty of forgetting about it and then coming back later and going, oh, cold tea. I don't want that. So yeah.
And it's a time frame. Like it's a time frame. Like how long does it take to drink a cup of that while it's still hot? Like that's your pause, right?
Yeah,
That's your
yeah,
in the moment
Exactly.
pause button. Yeah.
100%.
yeah. The
Yeah.
one, the one thing that's kind of popped into my brain as we're talking here, because I always think I don't want to say no, I can't say no, because it's just gonna pile on more stuff on my to-do list because nobody else can do it, right? Like it's if I say no, then well, tomorrow I'm gonna have this much more stuff to do, right? So, but what I'm now is like, okay, that is saying no from your brain, right? When
Yeah.
you get it in your gut, you say no more, right? It's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I need to make a change because I know in my gut this isn't right. I'll take the steps. Like you say, don't just quit your job. You start taking those steps to make that change and follow your intuition because you know in your gut this is not serving you anymore. So I think I just had that the between the know in your
Yeah.
brain and the know in your gut, right? The no
Yeah.
more is in your gut. Right? Does that
Yeah.
sound right? Like,
Yeah, I
okay.
love how you framed that, Tracy, so
Oh,
so
thank
beautifully
you.
because we do get stuck in the know, and I guess this is where it's important to know your values and things too. So if you're doing 100 things a day, look at what you really need to be doing and what you really don't need to be doing, because it's like a commitment audit, right? So what do I need to be committed to and what I don't? And if you really have to do that, how can I shape it in such a way that I don't want to say no? So, for example, I hate cleaning out my son's bunny's poos and wees because when we got the bunny, I said, I don't want to be cleaning up this bunny because I knew in my heart that I would end up having to clean
Yeah.
this bunny, which is sure enough what I have to do. But now I just do it first thing in the morning before I get to that point where I'm like, I don't want to do it. And the deal is my son does the wheeze and I do the poos. So I just, I'm like, great, that's what we're going to do. But I had to realign it to the value of, for me, for family, which is, okay, this is part of what we need to do in our family. It's a bit like I need to wash my clothes so that I can show up and be presentable. So it doesn't feel as bad when you wash your clothes, right? So,
Right.
when you can reframe those no's like that, but sometimes it is just a no, like you said, there's a gut no. And one of the most powerful things we taught my son was, when they're at school and they get all the party invites and they just say yes to everything. We had a couple come in and I'm like, do you really want to go to this party? And he goes, no. No, he said yes. And I said, hang on. This child made you feel terrible last week. He did X, Y, and Z. Do you want to go spend a day celebrating him and it's all about him? He goes, oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to that party. And then from that moment, whenever he got an invitation, I'm like, do you want to go celebrate this? No. I'm like, okay, great. So we had a lot of declines. And what you have to catch yourself is when you write the no, just say, thank you for the invite. However, it's a no, is not to then go into the justifying, and send, yeah, right. And then spend 20 minutes writing a text message justifying your no. I'm so guilty of this. And I actually will sit there and write a message and go, oh, no. Just delete the rest because it takes away the power of your no as well. So, like when it's a gut no and then you put all the extra excuses with it, it takes away your power in those extra words too, and time and energy that you don't need to do. Just say no. Yeah.
And then you open up for them to rebuttal and say, yeah, but he's
Yes.
really sorry he did those things to your boy and he would like to make it. And you're like, okay, no. It was just a no. Yeah,
It's
I do
just
that now. I've learned that I'm not available. No. And what are they going to say? Well, can you cancel? Because they don't know what, you don't need to go into the no is a complete sentence, but if you feel like you need to add more, I am not available at this time. Yeah.
exactly. Or this doesn't resonate with me right now. That's one I use. I get invited to a lot of things and was invited to a couple of panels and I'm like, no, sorry, this doesn't align with me right now. Thank you. No. So there is nice ways to say no, but
Yeah.
without taking the power away from it. But if you start justifying, your no has lost its power. Exactly like you said, Cynthia, it's not a full stop. It's, oh, hang on, I'm still in a maybe because I'm justifying my no in the first place.
That's so true. I had a client once and she couldn't say no. She didn't say no to anything. And I was with her once and she was, complaining about how she didn't want to do something. And then I said, well, what is stopping you from just saying no? And then she started going into, well, the things we know that we all say. And I said, well, they're your friend. And if you just say, no, I really don't feel like it today, and you're being honest, wouldn't they understand? And she had this look on her face, like she didn't know fire existed. She just had that, like, you can really do that. I mean, they're just completely unaware because you're so used to taking care of, as women. We all want to take care of everyone. We all want to make everyone feel good. We want to be supportive, and we all want these things, but sometimes we have to say no. And so she started to do that. And not excuses, just, I really don't feel like it. I mean, you're just being honest. I just don't feel like going out tonight. And the more that you're honest and you express it, the closer you get to who you are and how you feel. And so I'm just trying to remember those women right now who feel like connecting with their intuition may seem like foreign, like they don't even know what that is. And so I want to talk a little bit to them right now about, they've been doing what they should do all their lives. They've been told by society, their family, maybe their circle, that there is a certain way to behave, there is a certain way to respond, that they may have completely silenced that intuition. And we talked about this on a previous show. So for them, what might rediscovering your intuition look like for those that are deaf to it at the moment?
Yeah, I love that question, Lorraine. It's so much about, excuse me, see, our throat chakras close up talking about this. I can't talk about this. It's about taking like a micro risk, right? Like it's like, what happens if I said no to that? And it's almost like you can put your toe in the water and just go, oh, it's still safe. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit more, and I go a little bit more. But really sitting down, and I get a lot of my clients to write the lists. So what don't you want in your life? Because sometimes we don't know what we want. So writing what I don't know first, what I don't want, and then on the other side, writing what the opposite. Okay, well, if I don't want that, then I want this. And then you start to tune into that energy of like, actually, this is what I want. This must be this. Let's see what I can do to get that, and just taking those little steps. Because yeah, exactly like you said, if you're tuned off your intuition so much and you're so conditioned, and this is where so often that people pleasing comes in, and nice girl syndrome and all those things start to play out. Because when we say no, when we've been a person that always says yes, oh, do we get pushback? And this is where like doing the little no's first. So it might be like, oh no, I'm not going to go to the PTA meeting. I'm just going to say no. I don't want to go. I hate going. I'm going to say no. Oh my gosh, I've said no. Nope, I'm just going to stick to the no and see what happens. Sure enough, your life doesn't change. Oh, that felt great. I had 3 hours of my life back, and I didn't have to put up with those people I don't want to hang around with anymore. So the more you start to try it, and then you get that feedback, the more you start to trust yourself again. And and even it's really fun when you do it's really fun when you do it with your kids. So my son came out the other day, and he has certain jobs he needs to do to earn like screen time. And he came out and he's like, "Oh, Mum, while you go in for that interview or your client or whatever it was," he goes, "Can I go have my screen time?" I said, "Well, have you done X, Y, and Z?" He's like, "No." I said, "Well, then it's a no." And then he's like, "What?" And I was like, well, these are the conditions you have to do to get your time. So it's a no. Like it's a no. You can go read your book or something while I'm doing this time with a client or whatever it might be. And then I came back out an hour later, and he's like, "Mum, I've done everything. Can I have the screen time now?" I didn't tell him to do all those things. I just said, "No." And this is where like when you start to put those boundaries in with and no is essentially a boundary. No is like, no, this isn't for me. And when you start to get clearer on that no, and like you said, with friends or whatever it might be, if they're meant to be in your life, they will stay in your life. If it's not meant to be in your life, it will move away. And you can't let that as a fear to keep you where you are. Because if you're fearful, if you say no to someone that's a friend, they're not your friend. They're not respecting who you are. And the same as a partner, as people in your family. Your family is honestly the hardest to say no to. When I started saying no to my family, they didn't know how to treat me. Like my sister at one point didn't talk to me for 6 months because I called her on her crap and said, "No, I'm not putting up with it anymore." And sure enough, she came back after the 6 months and it was okay. And at the same time, I'm like, well, everyone has their own things. The only thing you can control is you and how you feel in your actions. So don't worry about everybody else because you can't control them. You can only control what you do. And if you focus on that and remember that, then it makes it a bit easier to take those little micro risks and take that step towards something that feels more aligned for you. And the more you do it, the easier it gets because we're not born with courage. Courage is something that you develop through taking action and, backing up what you say. And the more you trust that and follow up what you say you're going to do and then do it, the more you build that self-trust with yourself as well.
That also has a follow-up benefit. When you're saying no and you start to understand that you can only control your own behavior, what you had talked about earlier about other people riling you up or getting you frustrated or getting you mad, that starts to diminish as well, because
Yeah.
now you're focusing on you and what you can control, and then you learn how to be less affected by others. And so it's got that very wonderful dual effect to it.
Yeah. And don't underestimate anyone listening the power of silence. Because sometimes when
Yes.
people go at you and have a rant at you and you just sit there in silence and don't react, they'll backtrack very quickly. Because I was
True.
listening to this interview, and
Mhm.
I don't remember who it was, but it was this head CEO, and someone said to him, "What do you do if someone disrespects you while you're in the boardroom?" He goes, "Stay silent, because I don't do anything. I don't react. I don't take it in. I stay silent." And he goes, 9 times out of 10, they profusely apologize and become in a lower position. So then all of a sudden, I'm holding my leadership power. And this is where it comes to as a mum, because we are leaders in our families, whether we want to think about it or not. It doesn't matter if you're earning the money or not earning the money. It doesn't matter how you hold the matriarch image, how you hold that family together. You are leading your own family to where it needs to go. So by you showing your children that you can say no and put those boundaries in, God, what is that teaching them about self-respect and self-empowerment? So the more you demonstrate to your children, hey, this is what happens when we say no, and they can see it in your life and you're living your authentic version of you, you're inspiring your children to do the same, so that they don't end up being prior to people pleasing and all the things that we've had to shift and work through.
Yes.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that too. It doesn't have to be complicated to start shifting into a healthier, more empowered way of living. So, Catherine, before we wrap up, where can our listeners go to connect with you and explore more of your resources?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for the invitation. So, I hang out on Instagram a lot. So my handle's Willow Healing and then SH. I'm there a lot. You can connect with me there, check out things I have to share. Otherwise, you can head to my website, which is willowhealing.org, so ORG at the end. There's a lot of freebies on there as well. And I offer a 30-minute connection call where I promise there's no sales. I generally just want to see you succeed. And I meet with people and we just do whatever needs to be worked on and move to the next level from there. So that is a beautiful offering that I do to serve, so that people can understand, this is why I'm in it, and if you want to pay me later, then great. By all means do. I'm accepting and receiving. So
Oh,
yeah.
perfect. We
Nice.
will put all of your contact in the show notes so that if they do want to reach out, then they'll be able to find you from there. So this has been a powerful conversation. If you could leave every woman listening today with one takeaway, especially when it comes to choosing herself and building her dreams, what would it be?
I just keep hearing you are worthy. You are worth it, and you're here as a blessing, and not to forget that. Your story is what makes you unique. So you are worthy of everything that you desire and that you want to achieve and dream into your life. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Wow. You couldn't say it better. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. That's so nice. Well, thank you so, so much for being here. I know, you've helped us all see intuition in a much more down to earth, clear way. It's fantastic. I'm sure everybody listening is taking it away and, they're going to be more empowered and connected with themselves. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here. We were truly honored. It's great.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. I've loved having multiple people to talk to. It's great. Thank you.
Yes, this has been great. I love that. I love that you talk about how choosing ourselves is not selfish. There's this idea out there that, the me, if I'm doing for me, if I'm saying no, I'm just being selfish. But especially as women, it's wonderful for us to support each other in that self-care, in that being able to hold your power, being able to reclaim your clarity and protect your energy by having to say no, having boundaries, and by really standing in your power. So thank you so much. I just love all of that. And I know that our listeners will find out more about you on your website.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so lady listening, here is our challenge for the week. We want you to practice your own powerful no. So this week, say no to one thing that drains your energy or doesn't align with your values. Use that time or energy instead to say yes to yourself, whether it's rest, joy, or working towards a dream that you've put aside. So share your wins with us in the Facebook group, and we'd love to celebrate with you. So Catherine, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your wisdom. And to all our listeners, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, be happy, be healthy, and be kind.
Thanks for tuning in to the Happy Healthy Her podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with anyone you think would benefit from the topics we're discussing. We'd love to hear from you. DM us with your thoughts, comments, or ideas for future episodes. And don't forget to check out the links in our bio if you'd like to connect with any of us or learn more about what we do. Until next time, remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind, be happy, and be healthy.